In the quiet night, the moonlight gently falls on the windowsill, and the swaying curtains seem to invite you into a mysterious and wonderful world. Today, let us step into the world of the ancient Greek gods and learn about the stories of those powerful and dramatic deities. In ancient Greek mythology, there is a vast and magical divine system where the gods reside on the magnificent Mount Olympus. Among them, the most authoritative is Zeus, the god of the sky and ruler of Mount Olympus. Zeus is the youngest son of Cronus and Rhea. His father, Cronus, had a terrible habit. To prevent his children from overthrowing his rule as they grew up, he swallowed them one by one. Fortunately, Mother Rhea tricked Cronus with a stone wrapped in a blanket, allowing young Zeus to survive. Zeus grew up and led a holy war against his father. He bravely cut open Cronus' stomach and rescued his swallowed siblings, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Hestia, and Demeter. Thus, this story-filled big family was born. After the gods defeated the Titans, Zeus became the king of the gods. He controlled the sky, possessed the ability to summon wind and rain and manipulate lightning, and was responsible for maintaining the order of the universe, justice, and overseeing oaths in the world. However, Zeus's behavior wasn't always so dignified. He often transformed into various animals to have romantic encounters with goddesses, nymphs, mortals, and even possibly a few plants. He married his sister Hera, but this marriage wasn't happy, filled with betrayal and quarrels. Zeus's many love affairs resulted in numerous demigod children, most of whom faced serious parental abandonment issues, leading to many fascinating mythological stories. However, Zeus wasn't entirely chaotic. When he wasn't busy causing trouble, he also fulfilled his role as the cosmic judge, maintaining rules in both the divine and human worlds. Hera, as the goddess of marriage, family, and childbirth, experienced a marriage that turned into a disaster. She was Zeus's wife and also his sister. Hera's wedding should have been a model of sacred union, yet it turned into a centuries-long soap opera. Faced with Zeus's infidelity, Hera's anger had nowhere to vent, and she took all her resentment out on the women who had relations with Zeus and their children. She once transformed a woman into a cow, cursed another woman to only echo sounds, and even tried to kill the infant Heracles with poison snakes. Although Hera's acts of revenge were somewhat extreme, they weren't hard to understand given her pain. However, Hera wasn't just angry and vengeful. She also protected women during childbirth, maintained the sanctity of marriage, and punished mortals who broke their vows. In the hearts of the ancient Greeks, she was an important guardian of sacred order. Poseidon was the god of the sea and also ruled over earthquakes, storms, and horses. He wielded a massive trident, which was no ordinary fork, but a weapon full of divine power capable of easily destroying entire cities. Poseidon held supreme authority over the sea, commanding beautiful and terrifying marine creatures. Sailors would always devoutly pray to him before setting sail, hoping for his protection and safe return. Fishermen would also offer sacrifices to him, praying for a bountiful catch. City builders near the coast would carefully seek his permission when constructing houses, fearing that an inadvertent slight might provoke the irascible sea god, causing their city to be submerged by seawater. Poseidon's moods were as unpredictable as the ocean, sometimes generous and kind, helping people create islands. At other times, he would fly into a rage, merely because he lost a city-naming contest to Athena, striking the ground with his trident and causing earthquakes that plunged people's lives into disaster. His love life was also very complicated, involving many nymphs and mortals, among which the most famous was his story with Medusa, which eventually led to Medusa becoming a monster with snake hair, while he left unscathed. But Poseidon wasn't just irritable. When he was calm, he would protect sailors, help people build cities, and bring prosperity and abundance. Hades was the god of the underworld, whose domain wasn't what modern people understand as hell, but a dark, vast place where all souls ultimately came to spend eternity. Unlike how modern pop culture portrays him, Hades wasn't evil or cruel. He was simply tired of everything. When Zeus gained the sky and Poseidon obtained the sea, Hades ended up with bad luck, having to manage the underworld, much like a customer service manager who never gets a break. Hades silently ruled the underworld, lacking the majestic radiance of Zeus or the desire to display his power like Poseidon. His daily work was to ensure the souls in the underworld behaved themselves and didn't try to escape. His underworld had different regions. Heroes went to the blissful Elysian fields, ordinary people went to the asphodel meadows, and those guilty of great sins were sent to the Kapa de Tartarus. Hades also had a three-headed dog named Cerberus, who guarded the gates of the underworld to prevent souls from escaping. Although Hades was solitary by nature, he was very loyal to his wife Persephone. Their marriage was also full of mythological color. Persephone would spend half the year in the underworld with him, bringing some vitality to the underworld, and the other half of the year back on Earth, bringing the breath of spring. Athena was the goddess of wisdom, strategic warfare, and crafts, embodying logic and wisdom. Her birth was quite peculiar. Zeus, due to a prophecy, swallowed Metis, who was pregnant with Athena. Later, Zeus suffered from a splitting headache and had to crack open his own head with a hammer. And unexpectedly, Athena jumped out fully armed from his head. Athena was vastly different from her war-loving brother Ares. While Ares represented the chaos and violence of war, Athena viewed war as a chess game, excelling in analyzing situations and winning victories with the most ingenious strategies while minimizing casualties. In terms of crafts, Athena was also highly skilled. Her weaving techniques were unparalleled. Once, a mortal named Arachne, due to her exceptional skills, boldly challenged Athena to a weaving contest. Although Arachne technically won against Athena, Athena transformed her into a spider because of her arrogance, making her weave webs in corners forever. Athena was always focused on her duties, protecting cities, helping heroes solve problems, guiding Odysseus home, and assisting Perseus in killing Medusa, earning her the respect of many. Ares was the god of war, bloodshed and violence, acting impulsively and recklessly, charging forward without considering the consequences. He represented the cruelest and most chaotic aspects of war. Whenever he appeared, the battlefield was filled with shouts and screams, and the situation became chaotic. Ares was not popular on Mount Olympus. Even Zeus once called him the most hated god. Though feared, he was not respected because the ancient Greeks admired heroes who were strategic and self-controlled. Ares had a romance with the love goddess Aphrodite, which ended tragically when he was caught by Hephaestus, Aphrodite's husband, in an invisible net, causing laughter among the gods. However, in real battles, Ares was still a god both feared and revered by warriors, who would offer sacrifices to him, hoping to gain his strength and achieve victory on the battlefield. Aphrodite was the goddess of love and beauty. Her beauty unmatched, captivating both mortals and gods alike. Regarding her birth, there were two accounts. One stated she was the daughter of Zeus and Dione, while another, older and more peculiar version, claimed she was born from the foam that arose when Cronus severed Uranus's genitals and threw them into the sea. Aphrodite possessed a magical girdle that made her irresistibly attractive to anyone. Yet, Aphrodite's own love life was quite complex. She married the fire god Hephaestus, but had an affair with Ares. When Hephaestus discovered their relationship, he used a golden net he meticulously crafted to trap them and summoned all the gods to witness. making them the laughingstock of the divine realm. Despite Aphrodite's actions often causing chaos, she also had a gentle and kind side, helping young lovers, presiding over weddings, and bringing beauty and romance to the world. However, she wasn't always so benevolent. To win a beauty contest, she promised Helen to Paris, thus triggering the famous Trojan War, which brought disaster to countless people. Hephaestus was the god of fire and metalworking, the only true worker on Mount Olympus. While other gods were either busy waging wars or falling in love, Hephaestus was always devoted to forging weapons and building palaces in his workshop. His origins were fraught with hardship. Reportedly, he was born disabled and disliked by Hera, who threw him off Mount Olympus, resulting in lifelong disabilities and deep emotional scars. But Hephaestus, through his intelligence and talent, returned to Mount Olympus. He crafted a magical golden throne for Hera, and when she sat on it, she was trapped. The gods had no choice but to plead with Hephaestus to return to the mountain, rescue Hera, and agree to let him rejoin the divine realm. After returning to Olympus, Hephaestus became the master craftsman of the gods, creating many miraculous items such as Zeus's thunderbolts, Poseidon's trident, and Achilles' armor. Despite his talents, he was often looked down upon by others. His wife Aphrodite betrayed him, his family was indifferent towards him, and the gods frequently damaged the things he painstakingly created. Yet Hephaestus rarely got angry. His methods of retaliation were always creative and intelligent, exemplified by how he used a net to catch Aphrodite and Ares, achieving his goal in a dramatic manner. Hermes was the god of travelers, commerce, thieves, and messengers, quick-witted and eloquent. On the day he was born, he displayed extraordinary talents. He sneaked out of his cradle, stole Apollo's cattle, invented the lyre using a turtle shell, and then returned to his cradle unnoticed, as if nothing had happened. As the messenger of the gods, Hermes' job wasn't just delivering messages. He could escort souls to the underworld, guide heroes through enemy territories, and might have even established a courier service in the divine world. Additionally, he governed commerce and trade, though he was also the patron of Thebes, which seemed contradictory but reflected the flexible, adaptable, and persuasive traits he embodied in commercial activities. Although Hermes enjoyed playing pranks, he was very loyal when it mattered, helping Odysseus outwit the Cyclops, providing Perseus with tools to kill Medusa, and gently guiding souls to the underworld, making him a mischievous yet reliable deity. Demeter was the goddess of harvest, agriculture, and grain, whose mood directly affected the growth of crops in the world. When she was in a good mood, the land would be abundant with crops and trees laden with fruit. When she was in a bad mood, winter would come, famine and disasters would follow. Demeter had a beloved daughter named Persephone. One day, while Persephone was picking flowers outside, she was noticed and forcibly taken away by Hades, the god of the underworld. Upon learning of her daughter's disappearance, Demeter was grief-stricken. She stopped blessing the earth, causing crops to wither and animals to starve, plunging humanity into famine. People desperately pleaded with Demeter, but she refused to restore the earth's vitality until Zeus intervened. Eventually, the gods reached an agreement. Persephone would spend half the year in the underworld with Hades and the other half on earth with Demeter. Thus, the 4 seasons emerged. When Persephone returned to the earth, spring and summer arrived. When she returned to the underworld, autumn and winter came. Demeter was also a goddess of strong justice. She once taught humans to grow wheat and build civilization. If someone offended her, she would mercilessly punish them, being like a mother who was both gentle and strict, guarding life and order in the world. Dionysus was the god of wine and revelry, whose birth was full of drama. He was the son of Zeus and a mortal woman named Semele. When Hera learned of Semele's pregnancy, driven by jealousy, she devised a plan to make Semele ask Zeus to reveal his true form. Unable to refuse his lover's request, Zeus appeared before Semele in his divine form, and his immense power instantly reduced Semele to ashes. To save the unborn child, Zeus sewed Dionysus into his thigh until he was full-term born. After growing up, Dionysus traveled across the world, spreading winemaking techniques and bringing joy and madness to people. He was always accompanied by a group of revelers, including satyrs and maenads. And wherever they went, grand celebrations were held. Dionysus's worship rituals weren't just for entertainment. They included allowing people to let go of their inhibitions, wear masks, perform theatrical plays, and do things they wouldn't dare to do normally. However, Dionysus also had a temper. If someone mocked him or refused to worship him, he would mercilessly punish them. Once, a king who banned his worship was driven mad and dismembered by his own people, and others were transformed into dolphins by him. Yet, he was also deeply sympathetic to those rejected by society, offering them comfort and hope, making him a god full of contradictions and mystery. Artemis was the goddess of hunting, wilderness, wild animals, and the moon, being the twin sister of Apollo. From birth, Artemis displayed extraordinary abilities. Shortly after her birth, she helped her mother Leto give birth to her older brother Apollo. Since then, she lost interest in men and vowed to remain unmarried, stay away from the troubles of love and emotions. She loved to roam through forests, wielding a bow and arrow to hunt various beasts, accompanied by a group of maidens who loved nature and pursued freedom. Artemis was known for her purity and coldness, fiercely protecting her territory and followers. If anyone dared to offend her, the consequences would be dire. Once, a hunter named Actaeon accidentally saw Artemis bathing, and in a fit of rage, Artemis turned him into a stag, and he was torn apart by his own hunting dogs. Artemis strongly protected women and children, acting as a sacred guardian, punishing those who harmed the innocent and destroyed nature. As the moon goddess, she represented calmness, mystery, and wisdom, illuminating the earth with moonlight at night. Guiding travelers, Apollo was the sun god, governing music, prophecy, healing, poetry, and archery. He almost controlled all fields related to art and light. He had golden hair, a golden lyre, and a golden chariot, driving his solar chariot across the sky every day, bringing light to the world. Apollo was passionate and dramatic in character, his love stories often filled with twists and tragedies. He once passionately pursued a nymph named Daphne, who, to escape his pursuit, asked her river godfather for help and was eventually transformed into a laurel tree. Apollo was heartbroken, making branches of the laurel tree into a crown to wear on his head, commemorating this fruitless love. At the same time, Apollo was also the god of prophecy. He established the oracle at Delphi, where people would go to consult the priestesses about their destinies. The priestesses, inspired by the divine spirit, would speak prophecies filled with mysterious meanings. Apollo also had healing powers, and his son Asclepius became the god of medicine. However, Apollo's emotions were unstable. If someone offended him, he would mercilessly punish them. He could bring light and hope to people, but also disasters and pain. Hestia was the goddess of hearth, home, and domestic peace, being the eldest daughter of Cronus and Rhea, and the first to be swallowed by her father, and the last to be regurgitated. Unlike other gods who like to fight and cause chaos, Hestia was gentle in character, pursuing peace and tranquility. She voluntarily gave up her throne on Mount Olympus, choosing to stay in the human world to guard every family's hearth. In the hearts of the ancient Greeks, the hearth was the core of the family. As long as the flame in the hearth didn't extinguish, the family would be filled with warmth and happiness. Hestia had no temples of her own, nor did she have legendary mythological stories, but she played a very important role in people's lives. She symbolized family harmony and hospitality. People would offer sacrifices to her before and after meals, praying for her blessings. Every city center had a flame representing Hestia burning, making her like a silent guardian, using her presence to make the whole world more harmonious and better. In the world of ancient Greek gods, there are many other interesting stories and legends. For example, the story of Persephone, who was originally an innocent young girl. Her fate underwent a tremendous change after being taken to the underworld by Hades. Demeter searched the entire earth looking for her daughter, and when she learned that her daughter couldn't fully return to her side, she was overwhelmed with grief, causing the earth to lose its vitality. Finally, under Zeus's mediation, the gods reached an agreement. Persephone would spend half the year in the underworld and half the year on Earth. This also explained the change of seasons. Persephone gradually grew into a powerful queen in the underworld, learning to face darkness and death, while bringing the hope of spring on Earth. Her story full of growth and transformation. There's also the story of Medusa, who was originally a beautiful and devout young woman serving as a priestess in Athena's temple. Her beauty caught the attention of the sea god Poseidon, who violated Medusa in the temple one day. When Athena discovered this, instead of punishing Poseidon, she vented her anger on Medusa, transforming her into a monster with snake hair whose gaze could turn people into stone. Medusa was since feared and hated by the world, forced to live away from people on a desolate island. Later, the hero Perseus came to slay Medusa to complete the king's task. When Perseus saw the sleeping Medusa, he found that this woman, called a monster, despite her cursed distorted face and dried tears at the corners of her eyes, still retained a touch of heartbreaking beauty. At that moment, Medusa's snake hair curled quietly, as if even these magical creatures were sighing for her tragic fate. Perseus tightened the curved sword given by Hermes, feeling a momentary hesitation in his heart. He remembered Athena's words before he set out. Medusa may be a monster, but she is also a pitiable person. However, bound by his mission, he had no choice. Just as he raised the sword, Medusa suddenly opened her eyes, her bloodshot eyes filled with both longing for life and despair at death. Perseus dared not look directly into her eyes. Using the polished shield gifted by Athena to reflect her image, he seized the opportunity and swung his sword decisively. Medusa let out a piercing scream, filled with indignation and despair. Her blood spurted out, splattering onto the barren land. From her wound, two miraculous beings emerged. One was the winged horse Pegasus, and the other was the giant Chrysaor. Perseus quickly placed Medusa's head into the bag given by Athena. As soon as he turned around, Medusa's two sisters came rushing. They were immortal monsters, their eyes flashing with vengeance. Perseus hurriedly put on Hades' invisibility helmet and fled the island with Hermes' flying shoes. After returning to the human world, Perseus used Medusa's head to turn the king who threatened his mother into stone. Having completed his mission, he presented Medusa's head to Athena. Athena embedded the head on her shield, partly to demonstrate her majesty, and partly, perhaps, as a memorial to Medusa's tragic fate. In the world of ancient Greek gods, there are countless similar stories filled with love and hate, joy and sorrow. These deities, although possessing great power, have complex emotions and helpless destinies just like humans. Their stories shine like stars in the night sky, each emitting unique light illuminating the sky of ancient Greek civilization and bringing endless imagination and contemplation to us. Now, the story ends, and the night grows deeper, letting these wonderful myths accompany the gentle moonlight, leading you into a sweet dream.